Hey, horror fans. Once again, it is me, the horror Mizamani G. Yes, we're coming down toward the end of June. That means the year is half over. That means it is time to do my favorite video. It is time for me to tell you my top 5 best and top 5 worst of 2026 so far. Ha ha ha!
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans. Once again, it is me, the horror Mizamani G. And as I stated earlier, yes, the year is half over, so now it's time to reflect on what are the top 5 best and top 5 worst horror films of 2026. Now, obviously, the year has been pretty good so far. We've had a few great horror films that come out this year. Obviously, the obvious is everyone is obsessed over Obsessions, 28 years later, The Bone Temples and Help. Those are some of the top horror films that have come out so far this year. And of course, we have our usual suspects when it comes to some of the bad horror films this year. Obviously, we have The Strangers Chapter 3. I'll get it right. We have a few others like Return to Silent Hill and Psycho Killer. Some of those were very bad horror films. But let's go on ahead and then, once again, this is my, what I believe are the top 5 best and top 5 horror films of the year so far. And of course, we always start off with the bad news. So coming in at number 5 is Return to Silent Hill. Now, I don't know what Christopher Gans was doing when he wrote and directed this particular film because obviously it was based upon one of the more popular video games in the franchise, Silent Hill 2, and it's supposed to reboot the series after the disaster that was Silent Hill Revelations. We all know how bad that film was, but obviously this film turned out to be just as bad or even worse as that film was. I mean, the Christopher doesn't give Jeremy Irvine and Hannah Emily Anderson anything to do with this particular film. From what I understand, his character is supposed to wind up being Pyramid Head without any explanation. I mean, the cinematography was pretty good. I like the atmosphere in the film, and of course, those nurses that twist when you hear any sound with their knives in their hands or their shards of glass in their hands. So if you get in their way, they'll kill you and cut you. But overall, very, very bad, very, very, very terrible horror film. So coming in at number 5 is Return to Silent Hill. Coming in at number 4, it is Body Cam. Now, before you go crazy, this is not the Body Cam that Mary J. Blige starred in a few years ago. This is another film with the same title, but in this particular found footage film, it is using the body cams of 2 police officers in this particular film. Now, the film starts off as these 2 cops are into a domestic disturbance call, and unfortunately, something bad happens where one of the cops kills one of the victims. One cop says we got to call this in, but the other cop says no, we're going to cover this up. Everything seems fine, but we see these weird symbols being splashed all over the place, and weird shit happens to both the 2 officers, leading them down to a nightmare path they cannot get out of. Unfortunately, the film does not do a good job in creating type of tension or suspense. When we get to find out what this supernatural thing is, it looks more like some type of an evil cult. And I wouldn't even talk about how terrible the so-called entity that gets revealed in the third act, what this implies. So coming in at number 4, we have Baticam. Now coming in at number 3, we have Psycho Killer. Now you would think that this film would be pretty good because it stars Georgina Campbell. What a great job she did in Barbarian. And in this particular film, she plays a state trooper who sees her husband, also a state trooper, viciously murdered by a serial killer known as the Satanic Slasher. And so we get to go on this quest on revenge with her character, but unfortunately, nothing really good happens at all. The whole thing is boring. The whole motivation about what the serial killer is supposed to be is boring. It leads to nowhere. It looks like all the other state troopers are dumb and stupid, and she's the only smart one. And when we get to the final act, as far as what he's going for, it's just dumb. I don't even talk about Malcolm McDowell. He's in this particular film. His role in the film is wasted. Plus, we get some terrible CGI effects that are just terrible as well. So coming in at number three, it is Psycho Killer. Coming in at number two, we have Night Patrol. Now, I thought this was actually going to be a pretty good film. I mean, we have Jeremy Flower from The Blackening. We have Justin Long. We have Delma Maroney, and then we have CM Punk. CM Punk is in this particular film. Even the premise is pretty good. We have the Blood and the Crips are fighting against each other. We have a bunch of road cops. We find out that they're vampires in disguise. We thought this would be a decent horror film, but it turns out it's just bad and terrible. It's just this. Oh God, you want to talk about some bad filming? The dialogue is bad. The practical effects are bad. How they use a vampirism, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I do not know. But I do not know what Ryan Prowse was doing when he wrote and directed this particular film. But obviously, it's just a terrible film. So I'm coming in at number two. It is Night Patrol. And of course, I'm pretty sure you guys know what my number one horror film of the year is. And of course, it is The Strangers Chapter 3. You want to talk about a terrible trilogy of films. Now, we try to forgive the people who make this film the first chapter because it's basically a carbon copy of the original Strangers. Or say, okay, we said, okay, that's fine. Perhaps part two will be fine. Part two is just as bad. Okay, he can't mess this up, and they can't mess this up in chapter three, and of course they did. I mean, the only good thing about this entire film trilogy was Madeline Tesh, who plays Maya throughout all three films. She's the only good thing in this particular film, and it's just sad what they do with Richard Blake's character and the supposedly secret about his purpose on what's going on with this particular film. I thought that was terrible. I feel sorry for Rennie Harlan because he's such a great action director, but I don't know why he would try to do his thing in horror because none of these films work. It is perhaps the one of the worst film trilogies of all time. So coming in at number one, the worst horror film of the year so far is The Strangers Chapter 3. All right, now that we're done talking about the bad news, let's go on with the good news. And now we're going to talk about my top five best horror films of the year. Coming in at number five, it is Primate. Yes, Primate. Just think about it is Cujo, but instead of a Saint Bernard, we use a chimpanzee. Because basically the plot is we have this nice chimpanzee who is adopted by this nice family. He's integrated very well. He seems very nice and kind until he gets bit by a rabid animal. And of course, he goes on a warpath. Now, what makes Primate work so well is the practical effects because they do not use CGI on Ben. It's basically done with practical effects. It's like they had some actor in some type of a suit, and how they filmed it was incredible. Obviously, there is a little CGI in it, but it's basically all done with practical effects. The kills are done with practical effects. There's some very vicious kills that Ben does. Ben is no joke of how he goes about his business. I thought this film was very good. So coming in at number five, it is Primate. Coming in at number four, it's going to be a controversial one, everyone. For me, it is Undertone. I really did enjoy this particular film. I thought Ian Tosan, I believe that's how you pronounce his right, did a fantastic job in his first time behind the camera. The film stars Nina Curry as Evie. She hosts a paranormal podcast with her friend Justin. She's skeptic. He's a believer, kind of like Mulder and Scully, if you want to go there. They start listening to some weird audio tapes, and next thing you know, weird starts to happen with her and where she lived with her dying mother, and lots of crazy shit happens throughout the film. What really make this film work for me is not just the acting, but the sound effects that they use for the audio tapes. That's what drives the film for me. They're creepy, they're very disturbing, especially when you get to the third act of the film. So coming in at number four is Undertone. Coming in at number three, it is Send Help. Yes, Sam Raimi is back with a very decent film. We have Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. They play an employee and her boss, where Linda McAdams stars as Linda, and Dylan O'Brien plays her boss. They get stranded on this deserted island when their plane crash, and the roles become reversed because, as we see in the beginning of this film, Dylan Ryan, he's a total ass. He's just a total ass. He has no respect for Linda. Unfortunately, after the plane crash, their roles get reversed, and I just love the dynamics that they have. I thought Rachel McAdams does a very good job as Linda. She's very resourceful, but she's also a little unhinged, as we see as the film continues. I like how the film ends. I like what happens throughout the film. I thought both actors did a pretty good job. Lots of crazy stuff happened. So coming in at number three, it is Send Help. Coming in at number two, it's 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I thought that was a great follow up for last year's 28 years later. As a matter of fact, I like this one better because Ralph Fiennes, he does a fantastic job. Dr. Ian Kelson. I think one of the best things I like about the film is his relationship with the Alpha Infected. I thought he did a good job. And also, we have Jack O'Connor. He plays Jimmy Fingers, in charge of the gang of leaders. He and Ralph Fiennes have this great interaction when their characters meet up with each other, and then of course I simply just love the third act. Ralph Fiennes is actually having a great job when we listen to the song that's being played, and that's Iron Maiden's "The Number of the Beast," and I thought that was fantastic because he's just having a great time in this particular role. If anything, I think he deserves an Oscar nomination. Very great film, very great direction by Nina DaCosta. So coming in at number two is 28 years later, The Bone Temple. And of course, I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now, my best horror film of the year so far is, of course, Obsession, because we are all obsessed with Obsession. I can tell you right now, if Indy Neverati doesn't get at least nominated for an Oscar, I think we should all right. We should all right. Now, obviously, Curry Barker does a great job. He deserves full credit. Another YouTuber who's having a great year so far. He was the one that actually came up with, he and his partner came up with the little hard short milk and cereal, and he's come back with a very good film called Obsession. Really love the writing and the direction as we get to see Nikki, that's Indian Navarrete's character, and how freaky she becomes because of a wish that Bear does. And everyone does a pretty good job in this particular film. Really did enjoy it. And I said again, so far this year, Obsession is my best horror film of the year. Now, just because the year is half over, we actually do have some other horror films that are coming out. Coming up soon on July the 10th, we have Evil Dead Burns. We also have on August 7th, The Ice Cream Man, Eli Roth's most anticipated horror film. On the 21st of August, we have the latest Insidious film. This is called Insidious Out of the Further. In September, we have Don't Move, and we have another one called Resident Evil. This is a Zach Krieger film that's coming out. And coming out probably towards the end of the year, we have Roger Eager's latest gothic horror piece. This is called The Werewolf. Really looking forward to those horror films coming out later on this year. So there you have it, my horror fans. That is my top five best and top five worst horror films of the year. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give me the thumbs up, like, and share. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. What are your top five best and top five worst horror films of the year so far? I'll leave them in the comment section below. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. That way, we notify anytime when I put up new videos such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G, and always remember horror rules. See you in the next video. You guys stay safe out there.